Wow, you're so delayed over there.
What is? Do I have this? I might have this open on a window. Hold on. It's all coming apart for me.
Oh man.
Oh, there it was. You know what it was? Actually, it was playing inside of Twitter because I just tweeted the link out and it just auto played it. That's what it was. So
that's awesome. I love that Twitter's playing it.
It came out of, I guess it should have still caught my head. I don't know how that played out loud, but
I don't know, man.
It definitely was. I could hear it echoing double time too, and I was like, "Where is this? It's definitely my fault, but I don't know what's going on."
What's up, Evan? What's up?
I had to honor Ferrari, and I just went for it. So.
I like that. We'll talk about that now as we welcome you guys back to Hitting the Apex here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you check us out on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons, and always here every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Before we get it going, though, I definitely want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Our sponsor. It's definitely going to be... You know, my Google keeps telling me that I keep running out of I'm running out of space, which is not good. It's not a good thing. But regardless of the fact, let's give a shout out to our sponsors of the day, and that is You Brake Wheel Fix. Trying to find their info here because this is what I do. Oh my God. You know what happens that now all of a sudden I get so many different emails from people. And can't find You Brake Wheel Fix, but nevertheless, it's okay. I can find my read here. This is how prepared I am, guys. Please don't knock me for it.
There's a couple of we've been race every weekend. We can finally breathe a little bit. We're a little rusty here. We need a little break, and
we can we've got a little bit of a break, but we also, you know what? We'll get back to You Brake Wheel Fix.
There it is. Dial that number. They'll fix your rims for you.
Yeah, make sure you check them out.
05748-0112.
I swear I can't even find it now. Unbelievable. Actually, never mind. I found it. Here we go, baby. Ooh, You Brake Wheel Fix repairs damaged wheels from curb rash, cracks, or bends, all under one roof with in-house powder coating, CNC machining, and polishing. They also offer new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands such as Vossen, Forgiato, Fuel Off-Road, and more. They now even offer no credit check financing up to $5,000 for a new set of wheels. Fast turnaround times on all repairs, and they even provide loaner wheels in many cases. You Brake Wheel Fix is your total automotive wheel solution located in North Miami, right off of Biscayne Boulevard and Northeast 146th Street. Excuse me. Check them out. Some of their great work all across social media from Instagram to Facebook at You Brake Wheel Fix. That's the letter U, Brake Wheel Fix, or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. You can even give them a call, 305-748-0112, and schedule your appointment today. You Brake Wheel Fix, changing the way you see wheels. I totally apologize for the craziness there, but to be quite honest with you guys, it's a big week, man. It's a big week for not so much for F1, because I think at this point we already know what the hell is going to happen in F1, but it's just a big week for sports down here in Miami. So Vish will be traveling tomorrow. I will be doing it's just madness, but we're excited about it. We're happy to be on here as we recap the Italian GP, which was a little bit of a circus in and of itself. And we'll talk a little bit about some news and notes on the crazy world that is F1. So many different drivers. Where the hell is everybody going to end up? So many different names popping up now. And some teams testing out a bazillion drivers as well. So this is going to be interesting. But first off, let's kind of get right to it. By the way, I know everybody probably notices we're missing the fabulous Moni Lebro, but she will be on shortly as she has a real job where she's actually a journalist. So
she said she would probably be able to make it by 9, but she might be running a little late. So we still haven't fired her.
So Monza, so Monza, big race. Exactly what happened was what we probably all thought was going to happen. Evan got it right, and we'll get to the predictions in a little bit, Evan. So big shout out to you on the predictions. But an interesting race in Monza. Verstappen once again stays on top and finishes out in P1 after starting in P7. Charles Leclerc in P2 and George Russell in P3, followed by it was Carlos Sainz, and who was the top 5? It was I know I had it here.
It was Hamilton, right?
Hamilton, right? I think it was Hamilton. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Let's go ahead and
Hamilton.
open this up here. And
there you
go. Just a second. Be surprised how many clicks you have to do this. But anyway, there's the race.
I'm telling you. Look, Vish, I'll be quite honest with you. I was en route to another game, so I missed half of the race, but I did catch some of it. Pretty exciting stuff. Vish, what's your take on Monza?
I mean, it's the Red Bull's unbeatable. And I will say credit, I can't believe we're saying this, but credit to Ferrari. They tried some stuff with strategy to try and
they almost got it right, you know?
I mean, they did the best they could. They mixed the strategy up. They decided to pit early, even though they knew it was probably too early, but they're basically like, if we just play it straight, we're gonna lose anyway. So they lost anyway. I don't think there was anything they could have done that would have prevented that, but they kind of threw the kitchen sink at Max, and it wasn't enough. But and it should be said, we'll get into this, I think, in the news and notes section. But the race did finish under safety cars, so like the time gaps are BS essentially. So if you're looking at the screen, you're seeing the time gaps. They don't mean anything. It's a safety car in the front.
And then it was close, man.
Look how tight the field was. But no, Max was too much, and they knew that, so they tried things and didn't
before the safety car, Max had a 17-second lead on Leclerc.
I will say,
and then Russell was behind Leclerc.
Yeah, Russell was.
Yeah, it was a little tighter.
Yeah, no, Leclerc was by himself in second. Actually, he was closer to Max, I believe, than Russell was to him. It was really a matter of, was Sainz possibly gonna be able to hunt Russell down? The gap was closing when McLaren did McLaren things. So we can talk about that too. Oh, but we should mention the first turn incident where right off the start that brute Leclerc just pushed Russell all the way off the track and did not pull over and wave him through to pass him. That.
Oh man, that was just some good. That was exciting there because we always thought. We always think, hey, that first turn, that first lap, there's going to be chaos everywhere, right? We saw it last year, and for a moment there, all the cars were going to finish, and then you saw some retirements later on, but you saw some struggles. The guy that, and we'll get to this a little bit later on in the recap, but tough break for Ricciardo. I know that the McLarens weren't very competitive, but he didn't look too bad in Monza, and he had to retire.
But he did a good job of driving slow but just fast enough. Because what ended up happening is, with all the penalties, McLaren started third and fourth.
Right.
And after the faster cars blew past Ricciardo, he was able to hold up the midfield. So he was running pretty good in the points there when his car blew up.
He was the leader of that DRS train, right? For a little bit.
He was, and then McLaren did further McLaren things because
Fernie.
Oh, here we go.
Fernie, what are you doing in Sarasota, man? Are you moving planes around up there?
Hopefully not. He said he's drunk.
Well, yeah. Well, no. Maybe he did it earlier, man. That would be something. That would be something.
Please tell me you're not moving planes right now, Fernie. We're looking at the race finish here. So when the safety car came out, our friend Lando Norris was sixth, and he pitted for 2 new tires, gave up the 6th position to Checo, and then the race didn't restart, so they just gave away 6th.
That's another thing. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think that we should, right? Like, let's review the predictions first.
Let's go through that because hopefully Moni will join. We can get her take 2 on how the race ended.
Yeah, let's. So I had Max, Leclerc. Hold on a second. I got it right also. Oh no, I didn't. Never mind. I had Max Leclerc Sainz. I'm sorry. That was the Dutch GP. I was looking at the paper the wrong way. I was like, hold on a second. Time out. I think I got it right also.
I was about to call that you rigged this.
Man, I know, right? No.
This prediction is being stolen.
All right.
Where's Mike Pence?
Moni had Max Leclerc and Hamilton. P1, P2, she got it right. P3, she got a Mercedes, but it wasn't the right one. Haas and the double points definitely did not happen. But I mean, was it close? Let me see. Wait, did it happen? No,
No,
we had
no,
Mick. No, Mick was P12. That was the
it
closest
was
one.
not. It was not
Yeah,
close.
yeah, it wasn't even close. So, nothing there. Vish, you had Max, Sainz, and Leclerc, and Albon in the top 7. And you, my friend, were incorrect as well because
Well, Albon
Albon didn't even race.
didn't even run. But we should probably talk about De Vries,
Yeah. Well,
who
he had appendicitis, right? So that's why he couldn't run.
yeah, and then he actually ended up having a complication from the surgery and ended up on being put on a ventilator.
No kidding. I didn't
Yeah,
know
but
that.
then he was overnight. Then he was fine, and they released him. They still think he's going to race in Singapore. So
That's crazy.
but we
weeks.
should mention De Vries, who tested. He's a Mercedes driver, so that's Williams, Mercedes, and Aston Martin. So he tested the Austin in FP1 or something or earlier, whatever. He was sitting in the Mercedes hospitality tent drinking coffee and like, oh, you got to go drive the Williams in free practice 3 in qualifying.
Unbelievable.
So he hops in there, immediately out qualifies Latifi, and then beats him in the race.
Where did Latifi end up?
15.
15. Jeez, and Nick De Vries in the points, baby.
He qualified up there, and then he got 2 points. So when we look at the driver standings later, he is ahead of Latifi now, who it's Latifi and Hulkenberg down there with 0 points.
That's so sad. I had Max Leclerc and Sainz, so I was wrong also. And then I have Checo with a DNF, which this is what I wanted to bring up. How disappointing has Checo been recently?
I feel like we should wait for Moni to weigh in on this, but if she but I will say, yeah, no, this is the question, right? So we all know Max is awesome.
Right.
We kind of it's easy to take that for granted. He is that good. But the gap between the cars should not ever be that big.
No.
I mean, we always go back to that Bottas example, right? Hamilton is probably the greatest driver ever. Bottas he was never going to beat him, but he was close enough. Like he was finishing second, or he was at least like qualifying third if there was like Max was beating him or whatever. How can Max be in that same car out for like a Sunday drive, open up a 20-second gap, and Checo sit down there in 6th? They can't get past the Mercedes.
Yeah, it was sad. It was disappointing for sure. It was a little embarrassing actually. That Checo's.
It's been continuous with this. Either
the car doesn't
fit him, or he is really off the pace.
And that begs the question, but whatever, we'll get there. Yeah, I'm getting excited. Some of our fans, Tap, you had Max Leclerc and Sainz. You were wrong with the Merc DNFs. Evan got it right though, baby. Merc, he got Max Leclerc and Russell. So did my boy Gus. Gus had Max Leclerc and Russell as well. And then Jack, my friend, had the wrong Ferrari in there. Max Sainz and Russell. So shout out to Evan and to Gus, both for getting it right, and for none of the people who actually do this show.
I'll say this. Like, obviously we're not going to move the show or anything, but they tend to do the who got grid penalties and starting last on like Thursday and Friday.
I know.
And we put these predictions out there, and they're like, oh, injured penalties starting in last.
And listen, I don't think it would have mattered anyways with Max, right? I think if Max would have started in 20th and P20, he still would have won.
Yeah, I mean, Max is a different story, but the rest, I don't think anyone would have put Hamilton in the top 3 if he knew he was going to start last.
Right.
The Mercedes doesn't have that kind of pace.
Right. Which, by the way, strong outing. Obviously, he started 19th or 20th did he start?
He started 19th because 20th was Yuki.
Yeah, and ended in 5th. That's a hell of a drive for Hamilton as well. Not very surprising because he's that good, but still surprising because the Mercedes is not that good.
Yeah, and it was also he had trouble on the first corner because he got pushed off.
Right.
Had to take the escape. So he actually ended up in last, pretty far down the road, and had to eat his way through the entire field, which he did.
So that brings us to the Constructors' Championship,
which
is over, right?
Everything's over if we want to go that route.
Wait, so who's I guess by bringing this up, we can kind of talk about our drivers of the day. Who would you say is your driver of the day? Because a lot, some of the guys are saying Nick De Vries. I'm saying that Hamilton had a hell of a drive. Max at this point starting, it doesn't matter where he starts the grid. It looks like he's going to finish ahead anyways. So who's your driver of the day?
So I will just say on Max, we're knocking Checo. I'm just gonna assume it's Checo is just not performing,
Right.
and not that Max is actually taking like the third best car on the grid and winning by 30 seconds. I don't think that's happening. I do think it's Checo, but if it is, then that's a whole different thing.
That'd be something else.
So there's that. So I'm gonna go off the board. Someone we haven't mentioned yet. Carlos Sainz drove the hell out of that car. He cut through the field, extended out on the tires for quite a bit of time, and then was able to come back out. And he was hunting down Russell when the safety car happened, and it was a possibility for him to finish third. So I'll go with him. I mean, you can easily pick De Vries. Can't argue with that, just given what he. First of all, anytime we finish in the points with the Williams, period, that's a hell of a drive to do it. The situation he did it in, crazy, right. And you can always default to Max. Anyone that's finishing, I mean, the ending margin ended up being because of the safety car, but anyone that's comfortably winning the race, I mean, we shouldn't discount that. But I'll go with Carlos Sainz just because I thought he was the star of the race because he cut through the field, did a lot of great overtaking. Picked his spots, was patient when he needed to be. He actually drove through that Ricardo DRS train past each car. It's like, so that's why I'm going.
Not only did he do all of that, but he did it on mediums when some of the cars in the front were started on softs. And he did that on his medium tires, which obviously later on we noticed that the mediums were actually the tire, the tire that was, I guess, the best tire for this race. Really, the mediums were really working really well, especially for Carlos Sainz. So, yeah, that's a good point, man. Carlos Sainz did drive the hell out of that car. Just to go kind of different, I'm going to go with, De Vries to me is an easy one, but I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton. I just think starting in 19th, making a little bit of a mistake in that first turn, and still ending up in 5th with that car, which clearly did not have the pace that they wanted it to, or that it's hasn't really had that pace. He still drove the hell out of that car also. And yes, I know a lot of people think that that's probably a lazy pick because he's the GOAT, he's the best ever. But man, I mean, when you have those type of issues, when you start in the back and you've got to get past all these these DRS trains and some of these guys that quite frankly are just eating crap on the grid sometimes, and you see it all the time, right? You hear it on the radio calls. I think that he did a hell of a job. So I would say the top 3 guys that were driver of the day were definitely Sainz, De Vries, and Hamilton, if you ask me. So it's just, and I get it. Max he's obviously the best right now, but if I had to go with driver of the day, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton on that. But disappointment of the day for sure. I think we can all kind of agree it's Checo. Well, not we can all kind of agree. Checo was a disappointment. I don't know if you have anybody else on your list that was a disappointment.
I mean, Checo's the obvious one. I'll actually go again off the board a little bit here. George Russell was gifted second in qualifying and did nothing.
Yeah.
And we talked about how Hamilton cut through the field and really showed some racecraft. I mean, I know George Russell's whole thing is I'm consistent and I will maximize the points or whatever. I think there was an opportunity there. He got a decent start. Leclerc beat him in the first turn. He tried to dive in, couldn't do it, took the escape path, and then whined on the radio, and that was about all we saw from him. And, for someone starting second, not that he could have held up Max. I don't even know that he could have finished higher, but, do something out there.
He just looked unimpressive, right? He was just there.
Yeah, it was just there, and he started there because of the penalties. He actually, well, here's another thing, right? It didn't actually impact his race because he was going to start second anyway. But Hamilton's task in Q3 was to tow him, and Hamilton actually qualified ahead of him. He obviously hit the penalties and ended up in 19th, but get on it.
That tells you everything right there, right? Oh, man. So here it is, right? Red Bull, it's obviously Red Bull out by a lot, by over 140 points. Well, about 139 points there. You've got Ferrari in second place, and the Mercedes behind that with Alpine in 4th. And now Alpine's in 4th, and McLaren drops down to 5th, right? Because it was the other way around.
No, it's been like that for a while.
It's been like that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that Daniel Ricciardo's engine blowing up really hurt McLaren. He was going to finish in the points, and then they compounded it by giving away Norris's sixth and putting him in seventh. So they lost about, 4, 5, 6 points there. And, at the bottom of the grid, that's a lot. So our esteemed colleague is backstage.
Look who decided! Look who decided to show.
She does look like it. She looks extremely exhausted, but we'll let her in anyway.
Look who decided to show.
Let me tell you, it's been a day. All right, a whole day. It's been a day. I'm not gonna lie to you. My eye bags, they're definitely dropping a little low. It's cool. It's fine because I'm going to go to sleep kind of early. And then I'm going to try to give myself a good recovery, 6 days. So then I'll be on a higher step next Wednesday. But just hang in there because I'll be back. The old me will be back.
So you sound like a broken record there.
For those wondering, she's not putting on an act for the, like, she was doing the same thing backstage. I was like, should I hit the add to stream or should I let you gather yourself for a second?
Oh man, Money Leuro. What's going on?
After a week away.
Guys. Ciao. How are you guys? Hello.
Good. What'd you think of Monza? And then we'll get to the disappointment of the day.
Yeah, that's what we were right on. We were right on Checo's award when you joined. So.
I know we're talking about disappointment. But anyways, go ahead. How was Monza?
No, I concur. I'm not gonna fight you guys there. I really won't. Monza. I mean, I think it was a very particular Sunday, in my opinion. I expected, of course, when it comes to Checo, I expected a little bit more. But at this point, it just feels like I gotta get down from that high cloud when it comes to Checo, at least. But overall, it felt kind of good to see a Ferrari on the podium. I'm not gonna lie. So congrats to you, Jazz.
That's 2 in a row. We're getting there.
I know, exactly. It's 2 in a row. That's what I'm saying. It feels good, It's like a little change from the toxicity in the last couple of weeks. But
it's still toxic.
Well, yeah, you're right. It's pretty toxic. But I'm assuming that you guys were saying your disappointment of the day was Checo.
Yes.
Great.
Well, no, I went with George Russell. So we gotta have some themes on this show.
I know.
We gotta have some through lines. So.
Can you imagine how boring it would be if we all think the same thing all the time? Our driver of the day was different, which was
wait, don't tip her. Who do you have for your driver of the day?
Yeah.
Don't tell me, because I'm gonna steal it, Jazz. You know the old game over here.
All
so
right.
Don't give me your opinion.
You're right.
No, I'm a little bit torn between Nick DeVries and Louis. Louis mostly because it was pretty impressive that he jumped all those spots, but I think for me, DeVries takes it home. I mean, it was his debut. He scored points. He did pretty well in quali. So to me, he's the driver of the day.
Good pick.
Did I copy anyone else? I'm sorry.
You were close. I thought you were going to.
The entire world played Nick DeVries. I'm just asking.
I mean, it's.
Evan went Nick, but I went Lewis Hamilton and Vish went Carlos Sainz.
I went Sainz.
Okay.
Although I will say I have never heard anyone call Lewis Hamilton Louis.
Me gustó.
Louis Ham.
Yeah. What do you mean, Vish? Come on.
I mean, no one's
I'm
ever
sure you
called
heard
him
Louis Ham. Come on.
I've heard Lewis. I've heard Ham. I've heard Hamilton. I've never heard Louis.
Maybe Gabe Elias.
Louis and I are pretty close.
Yeah,
only his closest friends call him Louis. So I'm sorry if I cut you guys off.
Well, now that you two hang out at games without me there, I mean, I don't.
Don't be jealous. Maybe Gabe Elias calls him Louis. We got to get Gabe back on the show to ask him if he calls him Louis. I doubt it. He's like, Mr. Lewis, Sir Lewis. For sure. For sure. But yeah, listen, Vish. All right, we're gonna have an epic tailgate soon. Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah,
We got you. We got you, man.
Oh yeah, there's gonna be.
But you're not all flying out to Texas with me? What's going on?
There's gonna be an exclusive. You're going to Texas?
Yeah. Football game.
Crazy moments in your life. Good luck.
We're gonna win. No problem.
Oh man. Vish, show me that overall point standing for the championships, for the world championship.
Yeah, so this is done.
I want to see how over this is.
And actually Max can win the championship in Singapore.
Epic comeback right now for Charles Leclerc, baby. Come on, Charles. Epic comeback, couple DNFs, and we're right back in this, baby. I'm just kidding. This is over.
So Max needs to basically outscore Leclerc by 24 points in Singapore to win the championship. So
right. That's what I was going to say. Mathematically, he's able to take it.
Yeah, but not likely. Leclerc would basically have to DNF, but it is, we're talking about a couple of races now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, after a couple of races, it should be over.
And we should scroll down and see.
There he is.
Latifi's shame here.
Poor guy, man.
Guys, he's so bad, man.
He's gotta go.
It's just not. It's not. It's discouraging. It's so discouraging. I can't.
Look at Lance Stroll, baby, right there in P18.
5 points.
Oh man,
he's holding off Albon. He's lucky Albon got appendicitis, because otherwise he would not be in 18th anymore.
This is true. All right, so I mean, at this point,
just looking through it, there's not really much here.
I think 3 through 5 is going to be interesting, right? Like, can Sainz kind of creep back up and beat and get on top of Russell?
I think you're right. Yeah, this is where and maybe a little bit Hamilton, although it's probably not races.
Yeah, Hamilton as well, but
it's really these three, because out of these three, frankly, Sainz is driving the best, so he should be gaining points. It's hard. I mean, Checo's got the fastest car, but he's doing whatever he's doing. So,
listen, without all the penalties this past weekend, I think you're probably seeing a Max Leclerc Sainz podium.
You're probably seeing a Max Leclerc Sainz with Hamilton in fourth, actually, without the penalties. So, but Hamilton's not scoring high. I feel like he's going to finish sixth because he's not scoring high enough. Like, when you're at the top, you can make up points quickly, because there's like an 8-point gap from first to second. But like third to fourth and stuff, you're talking about 2-3 points. You're not making it up. So I think he's kind of locked in at 6. But I think Sainz is capable of still winning races and kind of picking up those big points. Maybe getting all the way up to third. I think he would probably finish ahead of Russell.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 weeks before Singapore, so we'll preview that one next week. No, the following week, right?
Yep, the following week.
Jeez. They've got 19 days in between races here. It's crazy. Moving along here real quick. I think this is an interesting thing. Let's get to some of these news and notes, because I guess continuing with Monza, though, really, like the red flag. Should there have been a red flag? Should they have just kept the virtual safety car out? What's your take on both of these things, Vish? Should they have just kind of gone with the red flag?
No, I think they did it correctly. There are rules, and we're talking about a very technical sport where they'll like disqualify you if your wing is off by like a millimeter. Right. There's a correct way to do the safety car, and they follow the rules correctly. And I think the reason everyone was mad at the end of last year is because they not only didn't follow the rules, they violated them pretty flagrantly. They violated all the safety car regulations to get that lap in. So the rules are pretty clear. You let all the cars lap, catch up to the back of the field. Then they have to do another lap, and then the safety car pulls in at the end of that lap. There was not enough laps to do that. I don't believe in artificially throwing red flags, because the rules are written a certain way, and the teams, maybe with the exception of Ferrari, are developing strategies based on the rules. So you can't just change them in the middle of the race. Like, no one would have pitted for tires if they knew, oh, you're going to throw a red flag and I can pit for free. Right. So you can't just make up rules on the fly. Like, if they want to change the rules so that if there's like 5, 6, 7, whatever laps left, and a safety car comes out, it's an automatic red flag, okay. I still have no issue with it ending under safety car. But if they want to do that, where they say no, it has to end under green flag, they can do that. But the way the rules are written right now, to me, you don't throw an artificial safety flag out there. And the thing that frustrates me about it is the commentators are going in there. Well, for the spectacle, this is a sport. It's supposed to be a meritocracy. It'd be like giving a football team a fourth timeout so that the other team has to punt.
Right.
No, if they end the game by kneeling the ball, that's the way the game ends. You don't artificially give the other team another chance.
Would it have changed? Would it have changed everything?
No, Max is going to win anyway. Like, what are we talking about?
Well, it would have changed. Maybe 2 through 5 might have changed a little bit, right?
I don't think so, because I think Leclerc had it. Okay. Russell was not going to challenge him. Maybe Sainz would have taken Russell if they gave him a few laps. You know, he probably would have actually. So maybe that would have changed. But he might have gotten him anyway under green flag. Like, it wouldn't have substantially changed the outcome of the race. But the other thing that annoys me is they keep blaming us for this crap. Well, if you want an American audience to watch this, then they have. I'm like, what are you talking about? If you guys want to throw an artificial flag out there because you're plastic, don't blame that on me. What the hell are we talking about? It's always the Americans will not stand for this finishing under safety car crap because they need the entertainment. I'm like, dude, you're the ones arguing for this. Why are you blaming it on me?
Yeah, apparently the British people or the Europeans don't need
entertainment for 2 weeks because the Queen dies. You're blaming this stuff on us.
Listen. I feel like they're just unstable. Like their monarch passed away. It's just not a good time for them right now. It's a really difficult time. They're in mourning. That's why we wear black, guys. We're wearing black in honor of the Queen. All right. So
speak for yourself, Moni.
Yes, 16 shots of Cuban coffee. Buy the shirt.
Sorry, Jazz. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm colorblind, but I definitely see you.
I am wearing black, but I'm not in mourning.
And by the way, my man Karun Chandak needs to open a history book if he's in mourning, because what that Queen did to the Indian people, dude.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna leave that one. I'm gonna leave that one for Vish. But
all I'm saying is, Homeboy was on the broadcast saying, so if that's his rationale for losing his mind, I gotta have a talk with him.
Yeah, all I know is that I'm just wearing black. That's it. Kind of moving along a little bit here. I think this is going to be interesting because
hold on. Like, does everyone I just gave an opinion, but no one else did.
Moni, what's your take on that? I mean, you think they should have gone to a red flag or stay with that virtual safety car?
No, I don't think that they should have gone with a red flag.
Wait, did the actual safety car come out, or it was just virtual?
Yeah,
it did. Okay. I'm sorry.
So it came out, and then they had to pull a crane around to get his car, and then by then there was no time to restart the race.
Exactly. You're right. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure the guys came out, and they kind of just they were just standing around the car. They were like.
So I heard, I don't know if it's true that the battery was still on, so they couldn't touch it because it was electrified or something.
That makes sense because they were kind of idle.
Yeah, they were just watching it.
By the car. And the
safety car also screwed up. It picked up the wrong car. It was supposed to pull up in front of Max, and it pulled up in front of Russell instead. So that was just that many more cars that had to lap.
Well, that's how fast Max and Leclerc were going. Apparently,
it picked up the wrong car, and that's why there was that's why the whole radio thing with Russell. I think I'm supposed to pass him. Am I supposed to pass him? I don't know if I can pass him. And there's all back and forth because he picked up the wrong car. He's supposed to be in front of Max. Max is never going to be in front of me this way because I'm in front of him, but a lap behind. So it was just, and then eventually they waved him through. And that's why everyone, even the third place car, which was not a lap down, he had not been lapped, had to unlap himself because the safety car pulled out in the wrong side.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big mess.
I just feel like the ending was lagging,
anticlimactic for sure.
Yeah, it was lagging a lot, and it was very anticlimactic, and in my opinion, I have to agree with Fish. There's rules, and it makes sense that it kind of makes sense, that the safety car stayed. If you want to look at this from a perspective on paper, the safety car was out there and it did what it was supposed to do. So I also read that the FIA 100% stood by their decision to bring out the safety car and not bring out a red flag. But then again, is the FIA. So.
Yeah. Toto had his ass eating grin on. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
look, we followed the regulations.
Oh yeah. And they were throwing Toto and Horner were throwing so much shade to each other.
Well,
like,
I mean,
this
is whether or not we enjoy the spectacle or lack thereof. This is what the rules say. So, of course,
I'm an American. I'm an American. Give me the red flag. Give me the red flag.
So, of course, they were going to go like immediately to Toto and tell him, "Oh, what happened there compared to Abu Dhabi?" And he just took the bait. So
that was beautiful.
They also, I can't remember exactly what it was that they asked Horner. They asked him, "Oh, no sé qué, la la la," and then Horner was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, if you ask me, like, why wouldn't I want to inflict that amount of pain in Toto, like, for the rest of the season, something like that?" I was like, "You guys need to chill." Crazy.
Oh man, I can't wait to see DTS season 5. That's gonna be something. That's gonna be
DTS fun. Season spoiler. Let's go.
Oh man, that's gonna be fun. All right. Moving right along. 2 weeks to go till Singapore now, and this is gonna be interesting because we're gonna have a lot of craziness going on now. This is kind of like a mini silly season. These 2 weeks, because it looks like Alpine. And we'll start off with Alpine because there's news with Haas as well and some other teams. But we're talking about them testing 4 drivers, right? In these next couple of weeks to see who it is that's going to take that seat that's vacated by Fernando Alonso, because it looks like possibly Herta may be rejected, right? So or probably going to be rejected, not going to be able to get his super license. But this is interesting, right? Vish, who are some of these drivers that they're going to be testing, and what's the deal with, obviously who's a favorite in your eyes, but what's the deal with them testing 4 drivers? Shouldn't they at this point kind of have an idea as to who it's going to be?
Well, I think they still want Gasly, but without Herta being freed up, Red Bull has said flatly like Gasly's not leaving, so they're basically saying it's Gasly or it's Herta. So what Alpine is doing, so just to be clear as what this is, there is a test in Hungary, I believe next week, where you can have drivers drive your old car. So you're not testing your current car. So you can bring in drivers. So they're using Mick, which is kind of weird because he's out right now. Nick DeVries, Colton Herta, who apparently is not going to be able to get a super license. So I don't know what's going on there.
So they're testing Mick, Colton Herta, Nick DeVries.
Yeah, and then the other ones there, God, I forget this guy's name.
That Duhan guy?
Yeah, Jack Duhan, who's one of their young drivers. So he's actually in the Alpine program. So what are they doing? I don't know. I think they're trying to get Herta some seat time to maybe sway the FIA. Maybe that's why he's in there. Because if he can't drive for AlphaTauri, I don't know what they're doing with him. The other ones, DeVries, I mean, we saw what he could do this week. Everyone's saying he's basically got Latifi's seat for next year, but he might have eyes on a better drive. By the way, he's 28.
Yeah, I was about to say that. He's an older guy. He's an older kid, believe it or not. Like, he's not 21, 22, 23 years old. He's 27, 28 years old. I mean,
yeah, so he's
maybe Alpine is the right car for him because, I mean, if you put him in a Williams, you're just wasting his good years per se. I know there's the Louis Hamiltons of the world, but for real, like, he's already 28 years old, man. You got to put.
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought he was like 20.
Right, me too. He looks like he's 12, but whatever.
Yeah, no, he's 28. So he's kind of got to. Yeah, if you can get into a better team, you should definitely do it. So that's what they're looking at. I think they still want. They're still hoping they get. At least I think they're still hoping they get Gasly through Herta somehow getting approved, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So that means Gasly would stay at AlphaTauri, so that seat's not open.
Right.
And now all eyes are back on Alpine, and there are still Ricardo rumors there. So he's, I guess, in play. So that's kind of where they're looking. It's a pretty big mess.
I mean, this is gonna be an interesting development because if one of these, I mean, even if they test well, again, this is my opinion, right? Like even if they test well, they're not testing in the actual car that they're gonna drive next season, anyways. So it's kind of hard because that car's gonna do things that maybe this car can't, or vice versa, right? So like, how do they really gauge who the better driver is? I mean, can Mick pull it out of his you know what, and everybody kind of get impressed and say, hold on a second, Mick looks good in this Alpine. Maybe he's the guy that we should put in this car. And I know what we feel about him, but is there even an opportunity or a possibility that he does that, or maybe he shows that he can test well for the Alpine? So now you're talking about Williams or or some of these other teams possibly giving him a shot, right?
Yeah, and it's an audition not just for the team you're driving with. It's an audition for the entire grid. In fact, Colton Herta, drove the McLaren in a test, and that's when he impressed AlphaTauri and Red Bull. So what they're looking at, you're right, it's not the same cars they're driving now, but they're looking for, responsiveness, how well they work with the team, communication. They're going to be giving feedback on the car too. Big part of kind of that we don't really see is the driver feedback to the engineering team to make adjustments. So, they're going to be able to gauge that. How well they manage tires, because they'll be able to do long runs. So there's a lot of information you can get off of them. It's not so more so than like the lap times matter too. If you're just like slow, they're going to notice.
Right.
But really, it's the overall like how well they can handle the car, how they communicate, how they work with the team. And again, Alpine won't be the only team watching that. The entire grid will be. So it is kind of an open audition for the entire Formula One grid there. So that's kind of what they're looking at.
Which kind of leads me to the next question, because I think that I mentioned it earlier. Before we kind of move on from this topic here, as far as testing is concerned, well, this is really the topic of the night. We're noticing that recently Checo has not performed well with the car that he's been given, right? Like he hasn't really maximized the potential that car has, and we saw him win a race early on, and we've seen him be competitive early on. But it's clear that in the last 5 or 6 races, we've seen a little bit of a dip in his performance. Um, First of all, what do you think the issue is with Checo, if there's an issue at all? And two, is this an opportunity for one of these drivers in let's say, I know Alpine is kind of locked in now, but in the McLaren, like a Lando or something crazy. I'm just throwing stuff out there, right? Like I'm not really kind of saying one way or the other, but is there a possibility that Horner and that whole team says, "Hold on, Checo, you're not doing what we need you to do," and they move on from Checo, and Checo has to find a new team because he's not performing the way that he should be?
Well, they signed him for next year, so I think he's at least one more year in the car. But
Right.
Red Bull's young driver program is basically a disaster.
Yeah.
So they're not going to look to elevate Gasly or Yuki into that car. So I do think, maybe a year down the line that seat's open. Now, that's kind of that seat's a poison chalice. There is a reason that everyone that gets in there fails. It's because you're driving the same car as Max Verstappen next to
Oh,
Max
yeah.
Verstappen, so you're not going to look good. Like, I mean, that's just the reality of it. Whatever you do, there's someone's going to be doing it faster in the same cars.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
a
a
tough
car at the
position to
top of
be
the
in.
grid. So
But are they
it
are
is.
they are they running the exact same car? Are the floors different?
No, they're
Are
running the same car, and
the
it's at the top of the grid. So
yeah,
you're in a
right.
situation where, if you're in a car, really that's not a Ferrari. I know Mercedes is down this year, but if you're not in a Ferrari, Mercedes, or a Red Bull, you'll take any of those seats.
Right.
Period. Even if it means, you're paying second fiddle to Max. People were asking why was Bottas, willing to put up with being Hamilton's, I won't say the word, but you know what I'm thinking,
Yeah.
for several years.
I don't think he had a choice.
Well, it's also, he's in a car, he won races.
He did.
He qualified on poles. So he didn't win a championship because Hamilton was doing that, but that's a lot better than toiling around in a McLaren or an Alpine. You're at the front of the grid, you're winning races. So Checo's in a car that most of the grid would like to be in, even if that means you're second fiddle to Max. So
By the way, if you put Bottas in that Red Bull that Checo's in, I guarantee you it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
I
he'd
think
be running up the
Bottas
front
is
with
a
him.
hell of a driver.
He is, and I think he had his spell there, and now he's trying to go on his own. But
What's Evan saying here?
talking
None
about
of
the tires.
None of the older drivers who never drove the F2 cars with the 18-inch tires are doing well, except Alonso, Check, or yeah. I mean, hey,
Could be. I mean, Ricardo's
yeah,
been crap for several years, so
I know.
not just this
I
year.
know.
But I mean, I think this is probably especially relevant with Checo because his whole thing was, he's good with the tires. They're different tires.
They are. I mean, you've seen a lot of them struggle. You've seen the Ferrari struggle with tires as well. So, I mean, you've seen Ferrari struggle with everything, but tires as well.
Yeah, but Checo's big kind of skill was like he was able to manage the tires better than everyone else. Period.
Right.
Different tires now. Maybe he's not as far ahead or even able to do it as well as everyone else.
Moni, I know we skipped you on this, but because you were gone for a second here, but you've got Alpine Testing 4 drivers in the Hungary ring. You got them Herta, Mick Schumacher, Nick De Vries, and Jack Doohan. How do you feel about what Alpine is doing with those 4 drivers, or what they're doing? Period. Right? Who are they going to choose? Are they? Is this kind of like an open audition for all the other teams as well? Because I was mentioning to Vish, if Mick is impressive in that Alpine, I mean, he's going to put his name in the ring for a couple different teams, right? I mean, and obviously the other guys as well.
Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, I feel that Alpine is really, it's a bit of they're in a bit of a limbo in my eyes. I think that in my opinion, I think that they should be very careful about whatever driver they decide to bring in, because of what I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks. I feel that Alpine, they have achieved a very significant amount of things this season with both their drivers, Alonso and Ocon. And I feel that at this point, they shouldn't make, I don't want to say a reckless decision, but they should be very meticulous about who they're going to bring in, just so everything that they did this season might get erased next season with a newer driver with, let's say, a little bit less experience, or maybe that doesn't have as much of pace or something like that. So I feel like Alpine is really rolling the dice to see and really get a better understanding of who would be the best possibility for their other seat. And I just get that feeling they're being very meticulous, they're being very careful, and they just don't want to fill the seat. They just don't want to say, all right, we're gonna go with him, let's go, we need a driver. No, I think it's the complete opposite. So that's why I feel like that's why we're seeing 4 drivers, 4, not 2, not 1, no, 4. So that's what kind of is going through my head when it comes to Alpine.
You know what I find intriguing? Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I find so intriguing about this though also is, like, right in the middle of a season, you've got drivers, I'm just thinking, you got drivers like driving for other teams and other, whether it's practice, whether it's testing. Like, I find it so intriguing that they can do that, and I get it. It's within the rules and regulations of what you can do in F1. But like, imagine. Just like imagine, I don't know, throw Derrick Henry. Like, Derrick Henry, all of a sudden, on his bye week, he goes to practice with the Miami Dolphins. Just a little practice with the Dolphins to see how he fits in with that offensive line. Because, hey, maybe next year, he'll want to go play for the Dolphins. Never mind, I'm gonna go back to Tennessee. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, I find it so intriguing that drivers can do that, or Derek can, or like a football player can be like, hey, I'm not going to play for you next year, so I'm going to go practice with this other team on my bye week and then come back and just play for you guys. Like, that's my mindset. My mind goes directly to that, and it's like, that's so intriguing to me how they can do that, and everything's cool. Like, hey, whatever, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, do you think that some of these teams because now Nico Hülkenberg is also looking like the front runner for Haas for that seat for Haas as well. So that, obviously he raced for Aston Martin earlier this season when Vettel had COVID. So like this is all interesting to me because I see all these drivers moving around and kind of testing with one team and testing with another, or they're getting out of their contract. And Ricardo now, where's he gonna go? I mean, this is awesome. It's cool, but it's not like the off season. This is like in season, silly season, right? Imagine this happen in like other sports like the NFL or the NBA, not just trade deadline. That's crap. But I'm talking about like this kind of, isn't it intriguing? And like, what does that say about this? What does that say about F1 in general? Like, is that something that makes it more entertaining, that makes this sport so appealing as well? Moni, we'll start with you on that.
Well, I agree, and I feel that I also share that point of view with you, Jazz, because I also think about soccer. Like you're just, I mean, yeah, you're not necessarily allowed to go train with the prospective team that for X, Y, or Z you might be interested in them, or vice versa. And when you think about it, I think that you mentioned that whether that makes F1 appealing. And I have to say yes, also because you have to consider that Formula One, we're talking about just 20 people competing. That's it. There's literally only 20 people competing. And it feels almost like you have to fight to death to get that seat, and you have to be like above average to get that seat, so there's only 20 people, and I just feel that there's so many odds, there's so many different chances of probabilities in F1 that's, in my opinion, I have to agree with you, Jazz. That's what makes F1 so appealing. And it feels like you're watching like a suspenseful movie. Like you really never know what's going to go down. So I have to agree with you, Jazz, there. I agree.
Do you think like team principals, are they okay with it? Do they kind of welcome that? Or it depends on what team principal you are.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that this is allowed is because there's a hierarchy. Like a Mercedes driver won't go drive the Ferrari. That'll never happen. But there's a pecking order. So Haas doesn't really even compete with Alpine, so who cares if Mick goes over there? There's segmentation here. And then also there's all these agreements between the teams.
Right.
Where they're like, well,
that's what's appealing about it, right? Like there's agreements. It's like, okay, you're talking about pecking order, right? Okay, let's just put it this way. The Detroit Lions. That's
right.
That's the Williams of the NFL, right? That's basically at this point,
Okay.
at least one of them. That's what it's still not okay if Jared Goff goes and practices with someone on their bye week. You know what I mean? Like that's what's so intriguing about it.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, it's completely. It's almost like they're not in the same sport, though, right? That's right. They're not competing for the same thing, and that's why it's kind of weird. And then the other part, when I mentioned the agreements, there's 3 engine suppliers. Well, 4, I guess, because Renault just does their own Alpine engine by themselves. So all these there's agreements between these teams, even though it's just supposed to be the engine supplier. But obviously, like Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, and Haas work together. Mercedes, Aston Martin, and Williams work together. Red Bull and AlphaTauri are the same company. So there's all this. So there's not that many actual different teams, which is why a lot of this happens. We talked about De Vries earlier. Yeah. He'd been testing with Aston Martin earlier in the year. They just threw him in the Williams because Mercedes powered car, right? If it was someone else, it might have been different driver thrown in there if it was a different team. So there's some of that. It is interesting, and this is why in the offseason, it doesn't get as much press. A lot of these teams steal the other team's engineers.
Right.
Because they actually know. I mean, the driver can give you some stuff, but the engineers know how the car is built.
True.
And sometimes, they illegally steal work product and take it from Ferrari and give it to McLaren, but we don't need to talk about the past.
No, they would never do such a thing. Are you kidding me? No.
And then take it to Kinko's to photocopy it because that was smart. $100 million because of that.
$100 million where you're going to Kinko's to photocopy stuff. Unbelievable.
There are Kinko's in Miami?
Yeah, FedEx.
Yeah, it's part of FedEx.
I'm going to be entirely honest with you guys. I have never, ever since I moved to the United States, I have never set foot in a Kinko's. And you guys, and I completely forgot that name. It's been 12 years it's been 12 years since I've been here. And I don't think I've said Kinko's for like the last 7 years of my life in this country. This is a huge parenthesis. I'm sorry, but I did not remember. Is there one here is it still called Kinko's? Like, what's going on?
It's part of FedEx. It's FedEx Kinko's.
There's one in the Gables.
Huh.
The Miracle Mile.
There's one in Dadeland too.
There's one in Dadeland also. Yep.
Okay.
You gotta get it together, Moni. Get it together. We need to get you out of. We need to get out of that world that you're in over there. Right? We won't mention where you are. We won't mention where you live.
Instead of ranking on me, why don't you guys just take me to Kinko's? That's it. It's our date.
Hey, let's go to Kinko's.
Hey, I'm not the one hanging out on the weekends. You take that up with Jazz.
Don't worry, Jazz.
Oh man.
No, that is literally how they got caught. They stole it. So McLaren, actually, that's how Hamilton's first championship was with the stolen design car. But so they stole the plans, and Ferrari suspected they had stolen them, but they couldn't prove it. And this idiot took it to Kinko's in the UK or whatever. Didn't even do the copying himself. Gave it to the clerk. The clerk made the copies, but realized what it was and reported them. That's how they got busted.
But it's funny that the clerk kind of saw what it was and knew what it was.
He's a F1 fan. He's a Ferrari fan. He's like,
Ferrari fan, right?
Cannot be.
Yeah, that's funny. That is hilarious, man. Oh boy, what a show! What a show! This was fun. I think that hopefully next week we'll have a guest lined up for you guys to kind of pass the time a little bit as we go into this mini silly season here. We'll probably have some updates for you on testing as well. As the week goes on by. Make sure that you guys follow us on Twitter at F1_5 Reasons every Wednesday night here at 9 p.m. on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. You can check us out here. We'll, like I said, we'll have some special guests coming up within the next couple of weeks, and then we'll start previewing Singapore as well as we count down the last 6 or 7 races now. Before we finish the season. But oh yes, thanks for reminding me, Evan. And for anybody who does watch, make sure you guys check out our pit crew Discord. Moni should be on there. We sent you the invite, Moni, so make sure you get on that Discord. Vish, myself, Evan, some of the other guys that get on there. We'll talk some F1 and come up with some really cool things that we can do together as F1 fans. I think that'll be fun. So make sure you keep it locked there on the Pit Crew Discord as well. We'll post that soon for anybody who does watch it to go ahead and log into that as well and be a part of the Discord and talk some F1 for all the F1 fans. In the meantime, Moni, Vish, always a pleasure. You guys did awesome. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, 9 p.m. right here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. It's Hitting the Apex. Adios.